The state budget crisis is impacting schools all over California, and now dire warnings of a $140 million deficit in the San Diego Unified School District has spawned a long list of possible cuts. This comes just when voters are deciding whether to tax themselves to reduce the deficit and avoid some cuts. With me to talk about what's ahead is Andrew Donahue, editor of voiceofsandiego.org. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start with the cuts. What's on the table now?
Well, they're trying to cut $141 million. That's an estimate, but that's out of a pool of about $700 million. So they're really cutting into things. We've got kindergarten would be just a half day. 10 under-enrolled schools, sort of schools with low enrollment, would be absolutely closed. First grade classes would go from 24 students to 29, so those sort of things. So
this is the fifth year of cuts. How are these cuts affecting the quality of education in San Diego's largest school district?
Well, so far the school district has found ways, despite going through these sort of exercises every year, to really buffer the actual classroom from many of these cuts. In past, they've found ways to do attrition or give bonus to some of their older employees so they leave sooner. So I think this is the year that we see, can they continue to find sort of creative, smaller cuts that don't impact the classroom, or is this the year that we actually start to see a lot more impact there?
Well, you're talking about $141 million. That's more than 10% of their entire budget. And in the past, we've heard about teacher layoffs. They didn't happen. Is this the year that's going to happen?
I think that's what I'm waiting to see. We have to see if this is the year that these things actually do come to fruition. Because like we've said, these estimates come out now and then another one comes out later in the year, but they actually make these decisions next summer. So a lot of things could change between now and then.
Well, one of the things that could change is what's going to happen on the ballot in November 2nd. It's Proposition J, which would create a parcel tax that everybody who lived in a house or apartment who owned those properties would pay. What is it set up to do?
It's set up basically just to give an infusion of money to the school district. I think they're estimating about $50 million a year, which is obviously something that when you look in the face of the cuts they could make, they could probably use. But then again, we look at the massive totality of the cuts, and $50 million is still just a drop in the bucket.
It is. It would take a big change in the economy, I guess, in order to change what the schools are facing.
It would, and then again, this is only a 5-year tax increase, much like the city's Prop D. So again, these are sort of temporary changes. The whole funding structure for schools has really changed in the last few years, and there's no signs that that's going to change anytime in the future.
But there might be a sign that the voters are ready to pass a proposition like this. However, it requires 2/3 of the voters for it to really pass.
And those are tough propositions. The 2/3 tax increases always face a huge, huge struggle. So I think that and the fact that the city of San Diego has a tax increase on the ballot at the same time are going to combine to create some struggles for it, but it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Well, let's think about this for a little bit. The economy is still slow, may not recover for another 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years. With the economy slow, people aren't buying as much, so sales themselves might decrease. So even if you have a Proposition J, it's reliant to a certain extent on the ability of people to, move ahead with their purchases and perhaps buy homes, buy apartments. And I'm just wondering how the economy might affect that.
Sure. Well, for Proposition D for the city, that's the sales tax. So that would obviously, that's going to impact people. And that's a regressive tax. So it actually hurts poorer people more than richer people. With Prop J, I think it'll just be more of an overall problem when you have a lot of homeowners who are struggling to just make the mortgage. Just to even thinking of throwing an extra $100 on there, I think it's going to be tough for any family right now.
I'm wondering whether there is any organized opposition against it, against Proposition J.
Yes, you have the Taxpayers Association. You have sort of I think the Republican sort of the Republican establishment. So the sort of typical tax fighters are out there pushing against this, saying that we're throwing more money into schools and we're getting worse results than ever, so we shouldn't just keep throwing money at the problem.
Okay, so finally, I would assume that school personnel, school superintendent is in favor. Is there a relationship between the announcement of these cuts and the election?
No, they always get these estimates about this time. I think it's convenient, and it certainly helps their cause when they're making these sort of dire warnings, but this is sort of part of the process every year.
Andrew Donahue, thank you very much.
Thank you.